WFMY News 2 breaking news now.
The news spread like a shockwave across the sports world today. NASCAR icon Kyle Busch dead at the age of 41. He'd been in the hospital for what family called a severe illness. And breaking tonight, the Associated Press is reporting he was in a racing simulator in Concord yesterday, when he became unresponsive and he had to go to the hospital in Charlotte. We don't know exactly what happened, but it comes less than 2 weeks after he radioed into his crew during a race, asking a doctor to give him some sort of shot after the race. The TV broadcast said he was dealing with a sinus cold. We're not sure if it's related to his death. In our team coverage tonight, we are hearing reaction to Busch's death and taking a look back at his storied career. Let's start with WFMY News 2's Bryce Parker, who's live at Richard Childress Racing headquarters in Welcome. Bryce, sounds like fans have started a makeshift memorial outside the RCR Museum.
Chad, fans have been coming here tonight to pay their respects to Kyle Busch and send their condolences to the Busch family and the RCR family as well. Now, as I step to the side, you can see that there is a small collection of flowers, cards, and M&Ms at the entrance to the RCR Museum behind me. The rain tonight likely put a damper on other visitors coming to pay their respects. But before the rain, fans gathered to comfort each other through tears. But they were also laughing and sharing stories of Busch and some of his legendary races. Fans told me they'll remember Busch for his fearless driving style that reminded them of Dale Earnhardt, bringing back that same spirit to the sport. For the younger generation of racing fans who never saw Dale race, they're now remembering Busch in a similar way.
I think back to before I was born when Dale Earnhardt passed and how much that meant to people who watch NASCAR. My dad talked about how much he loved Earnhardt, and Kyle Busch kind of embodied that same spirit of I'm going to win and you're going to like me, or you're not going to like me, and a lot of people liked him, and I was one of them.
One of the races that fans talked about today was actually a race that happened in Charlotte back in 2009. It was an Xfinity Series race where Busch pushed Dale Jr. up the track to take the lead and eventually win that race. That moment serving as a representation of the truly fearless driver that Busch was. Reporting live in Welcome, Bryce Parker, WFMY News 2.
Bryce, thank you. About 5 months ago, Logan sat down with Kyle Busch at RCR headquarters in Davidson County. Logan, I imagine it's surreal to look back at that interview knowing he is no longer with us.
Yeah, Chad, well, one thing everyone knew about Kyle Busch is how fierce of a competitor he was. He pushed the limits in an aggressive style, and while that quality made him a polarizing figure, it also resulted in him being one of the sport's most beloved and iconic drivers. Busch had 63 Cup Series wins and won the 2015 and 2019 Series titles. He is the winningest driver in NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts and Craftsman Truck Series history with 102 and 69 wins. Busch fully leaned into his rowdy persona throughout his entire career, wearing his emotions on his sleeve every second while he was on the track. Now, over the last few years, I've gotten to talk to Kyle and see a softer side of him. He never passed up an opportunity to talk about his family. And when we spoke in January, right before the season began, the first minutes of our conversation were updates on his family.
Seems to go by faster and faster every single year, but we've had some really good days. We've had some fun times, kind of relaxing as a family. We took a trip together, so Brexton Racing, that takes paramount as well too. Even in the off season, it's not really an off season. So Christmas was good and ready for the new year.
And just 3 days ago, Busch celebrated his son Brexton's 11th birthday. Kyle Busch was truly one of one and will never be forgotten. We'll have more on his legacy later in sports.
Logan, thank you. Busch won the Truck Series race last weekend, and after the victory, he reflected on his chase to catch Dale Earnhardt in Cup Series wins and how quickly life can change. At the time, it didn't seem like a remarkable statement, but to hear it now is both chilling and heartbreaking.
Once upon a time, I think my number in the Cup Series was wanting to eclipse Dale, and what is that, 75, 77? He's 76, right? So you needed 77. So somewhere in there would have been kind of what my goal was for the Cup Series. But
take whatever you can get, man. You never know when the last one's going to be, so cherish them all. Trust me.
Lots of racing legends are reacting tonight. In a social media post, Dale Jr. wrote, "Kyle was one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history. No one can deny that. But he was also a father, a husband, brother, son, and a friend to many." In a joint statement, the Busch family, Richard Childress Racing, and NASCAR wrote, "A future Hall of Famer, Kyle was a rare talent, one who comes along once in a generation. He was fierce, he was passionate, he was immensely skilled, and he cared deeply about the sport and fans." Richard Petty's foundation wrote that it's absolutely heartbroken, calling this truly unbelievable, and their hearts and prayers go out to the entire Busch family. Another driver, Joey Logano, described the emotions many are feeling right now.
Heartbroken, I guess would be the one thing, and very surprised. I'm sure the whole industry is right now. You know, Kyle and I have been tough competitors, right? We didn't see eye to eye on everything, but there was a mutual respect for each other's talents and what he's been able to do in our sport. I mean, the bottom line is he is one of the best drivers to ever sit in a race car. And he impacted our sport in so many ways. You know, such a huge personality. It's a really big reminder of how fragile life is.
It was just a few months ago the NASCAR family suffered a different tragedy last December when Greg Biffle and his family died in a plane crash in Statesville. As you know, the 55-year-old played a big role in Hurricane Helene recovery in western North Carolina. Tonight, Biffle's family said it is praying for Busch's family. Keep in mind, Busch was there to help them grieve at Biffle's service back in January. Tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes honored Busch at Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Raleigh. The Canes held a moment of silence and put his picture up on the Jumbotron. Logan will have more on the game later in sports. I was just at RCR headquarters 2 days ago interviewing Richard Childress for an upcoming story. After the interview, I got a tour of the facility and happened to take this picture of Kyle Busch's number 8 car next to Austin Dillon's number 3 as the team worked on them before the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know this picture would hold so much meaning just 2 days later. We will be in Charlotte tomorrow ahead of the Coke 600. There's a Truck Series race followed by the Cup Series race this weekend. As you can imagine, there will likely be plenty of tributes throughout the weekend. We will also have more coming up later in sports.